the adrenaline rush, you know?
Yeah.
Tremlick says, I was watching the Red Letter Media review of Alien Romulus earlier. I had no idea they included the black goo. Their theory that producer Ridley Scott demanded that be put in makes sense. Yeah, because he's pissed that he is not making Alien Starscream or whatever his third Alien would have been. I wanted to see his third Alien, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm not, like, while I understand that Prometheus and Alien Covenant are incredibly flawed, I don't think that they're so bad that I don't ever want to see anything from that like perspective again. A lot of people like really hate those movies, and I don't. I have a lot of problems. There's a lot of problems for sure, but like I just don't despise them. Mm-hmm. And in fact, as time has gone on, I've softened on them more and more and more as I watch them more, because you just kind of take in the themes of the story, and you can kind of have a better sense of what Ridley Scott's exploring. And he's just exploring the nature of life and death and creation and the responsibility of creators, and how there's kind of a chain of that goes from like from the creators to people to what people create, right? With the androids, there's always like 3 layers of that present. And there's a lot of interesting stuff in there, even if it doesn't all come together. And fucking Michael Fassbender, speaking of Lawrence of Arabia, he rules in Prometheus and Alien Covenant. He's awesome in those movies.
He's my favorite part, and that's what I was craving more and more. We'll get into it with Alien Romulus, but like that's what I want to see right now. You know. Yeah,
we'll talk about Alien Romulus. I'm going to read these, and then we'll just hop into that review.
Okay.
Signal Intrusion says black goo stolen from X-Files anyway. Is it though? Is it the same thing? I don't know if it's quite the same thing. It's the seed of creation, Signal. It's the seed of creation, sir. Okay, remember in Prometheus, that guy standing on the waterfall and he drinks that black goo? And he falls apart, and then his DNA goes in the water and seeds the planet. And then, human beings 1,000 years later or whatever. Tremlick says, I wanted to see the Ridley Scott third movie too. I want to see where he goes with the Luciferian David character. Yes, that's what we all wanted. Then instead, we got Alien Romulus. Alien Romulus. It's what happens when they make movies for $300 million and need them to make $1 billion to be profitable. I mean, I don't understand why they go into these movies. It's like, it's a rated R genre movie. Like, I know like Alien is a franchise that's well known, but it's actually kind of niche. The people that actually like it's like kind of a niche group of people. Like, it's not as, I don't think it's as ubiquitous as people think it is.
No, of course.
Yeah. They've always been like that too. They've always been things that these movies should actually, in fairness, we're about to launch an Alien Romulus. Alien Romulus, it was like an $80 million movie.
Wow.
Which is, that's good for a movie like that. Why those movies shouldn't cost more than that, Mm-hmm. But anyways, yeah, so we're going to hop into the Alien Romulus review. We are going to be spoiling the movie, so if you guys don't want to, hear any spoilers or anything like that, just come back later. We'll be done talking about it, and we'll be spoiling Trap, and then we'll be talking about some of the best movies of the year so far.
Yeah.
But anyways, here's a little TV spot, and then we'll hop into the review.
Annie, open the door. Annie, open the door.
What are you doing? Can you open the door?
Look at me. It's all right. I'm going to get you out. Don't look over there.
I need you to open that door right now. Come on, open the door. God, why would you help me? What are you doing? You have to run right now.
Alien Romulus, rated R. Experience it in IMAX. Get tickets now.
Oh, that's right, everybody. We're going to be talking about Alien Romulus. The film is directed by Fede Alvarez. It came out on the 16th, like it said. I got to see it in IMAX myself. I sprung for the extra. I had to pay a surcharge, because I have the Regal Unlimited Pass. But I had to pay an extra $8 to go see it on IMAX. And, I will say this. Out of everything, I'm glad I saw it in IMAX because I thought like the production design and all that stuff was actually really great. I really liked the look of the movie. It very lovingly recreates the look of the technology from that era relative to what the movies were representing. So it was just cool to see that kind of stuff. And there were some cool, awesome shots of like spaceships, and they did some cool model work and things like that where really cool to see on the big screen in that way. But
Well, I saw it in Dolby cinema, so
my.
I guess I got the good sound design experience. And actually, you know, that's one thing I didn't comment on that I think is also really good is that it sounds really great. You know, I can see why they would release it to a bunch of those limited theaters too. So, but yeah, I imagine like there had to have been some shots made intentional for IMAX, like when you watched it, because
yes, there definitely was. Yeah,
there were some visuals where I was just like, oh, I need to see this on a bigger screen or something like that.
yeah. So I don't know, where do we begin? So the log line of the movie is, while scavenging the deep ends of a derelict space station, a group of young space colonists comes face to face with the most terrifying life form in the universe. It stars Kaylee Spenny, who's kind of a new actress on the scene, David Johnson, Archie Renault, Isabella Merced, Spike Fern, and Aileen Wu. Also, Ian Holm. Spoiler alert.
Back from
Ian
the dead.
Holm. Jesus Christ. Actually, you know what his credit is? It says, because he's credited on IMDb, and it just says in parentheses, facial and vocal reference, which is so ghoulish. Because he's dead, right?
He died in 2020.
Yeah, that's what
during
I thought.
COVID.
Yeah. That's what I thought. I was, I don't know.
I make terrible dark jokes all the time, but like even here I was like, God, have a little bit of class. Like, leave this guy alone.
Well, especially since they're dead.
Yeah, like, was Lance Hendrickson busy that day? You couldn't just get Bishop for a quick cameo or something?
Or how about just not have a character from Aliens or Alien
at all? Yeah.
At all. Like, I understand what they're saying. They're trying to establish, like, well, there's different models and all the models look the same. Like, I understand that, but it's actually not the same character as the one from Alien, because obviously that guy's toast.
Yeah.
Ash, he's dead. So this new guy is just like, so it's kind of even more arbitrary that they're using this thing. And also, wasn't that model supposed to be retired because it was too human-like? So they, like, that's the whole thing about Bishop and Aliens, is that, like, the reason why Bishop acts a little bit more, shall we say, autistic, is because they've pulled back the humanity from them so that people could tell the difference, and so that people could disengage from them and not trust them, etc. Like, there's actually a built-in reason for why they changed it. So even though this, I think they said this takes place 15 years after Alien. I think that's what it said, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember, because there was a little bit of a text scroll, but I can't remember like all the explanation for it. I know it takes place in between the two, but I couldn't get a full grasp on the timeline. That's why when I first saw Ash, even though it's like a different android, I was like a little thrown off, thinking like, wait, did they just go to the Nostromo again?
Well, that's I thought that for a second too, because you see the body's like cut in half and it's like hanging out, and you're like, are you fucking serious? Yeah. Oh, I have a little bit of a bone to pick with you, motherfucker, though. Dude, I had just sat down in the theater. I was there like 10 minutes early. I pulled out my phone. I opened Twitter. Whose tweet do I see first, Jeremy?
Hopefully not mine.
It was yours. It was the fucking picture of Ian Holm. I was just like, this motherfucker.
You know what? And this is the one time I'm going to just be that motherfucker, because I never do that in the theater. But this was the one case where I'm like, come the fuck on. I just pulled my phone out, grabbed a screenshot. Like, why are they doing this shit?
Yeah. Well, let's kind of let's take it back to the beginning a little bit. So we got this new young cast of characters, these they're Gen Zers. They're not millennials. They're Gen Z hipster people that are like the coolest, hippest mining colonists in the entire colony, as far as I understand. Kaylee Spenny's character is like, apparently you can like kind of work your way off of these mining colonies, because they all work for Weyland-Yutani, which is a retcon, because Weyland-Yutani was not a thing until they built out the lore, but whatever. And then it's kind of a dumb scene. Like, I had a little trepidation even from the beginning, because she goes up to like get her punch card, essentially being like, her permission, her papers to be let off the colony. And then some fat old lady who just gives her a mean look and like presses a button and it like doubles the amount of hours she needs. They're like, nope, sorry, you got a 7-year extension. And they don't, and they're like, yeah, we got a work shortage. Sorry, lady. Yeah, I actually thought you could have lost that whole sequence. Why couldn't it have been that just like it's just sucks to be on the mining colony and they just want to get off? Like
Right.
I guess they were just trying to make her seem more virtuous, like she's the good person, like that's the downtrodden hero a little bit. And then after that, she has like an adopted brother that is revealed to be the new android character. Which I don't remember the name of him. Oh, Andy.
Andy.
That's right.
Yeah,
Andy by David Johnson, who is really good in the movie. I will say this. Out of all the characters, out of all the performances, I think Kaylee Spaney as Rain and David Johnson as Andy were definitely by and far, like by a country mile, like the standouts of the movie. Yeah. I wish desperately they had better material to work with, because there's a lot of things to like about the movie. Like there's a lot of things about like, especially it's like production design and it's cinematography and there's lots of cool shit in there. But the characters, like the set pieces and what ends up developing in the plot is just really, really, dude, it's like a fan film. It's so full of fan service that you're just like, holy shit.
No, that was I didn't mention that in my review for it initially, but it is full on. It does feel like fan fiction. At the end of the day, It doesn't even feel like something that, because it can't ever justify its existence. You can take it or leave it. You can get through the whole Alien franchise without this movie, and it would not affect it at all. That's the way it's on display. And I'm like you. I think the concept is great, and I think there's a lot of things that they could have had fun with and had a lot to work with, but they waste it all in that after that first third. And I was just, and I don't know, I just came out just so disappointed. Like, this is the best you can do. Like, you have you have all the makings, you have all the parts there. Like, why is this hard to do?
Well, because you have that first 20 minutes where you're like, okay, this might be interesting, because it's showing you a perspective of this world that you've never seen. You've never really spent a lot of time with normal people in this franchise, right? They're always, well, I guess you know what? I'm wrong. We have, because that's the first movie. They're literally just blue collar workers. They're literally just salvagers.
Yeah.
So I take that back. Jesus. But they're at least professionals, though. They're like competent professionals. They're out there doing their stuff, right? But we've never really spent any time with, I guess, people that live just kind of on planet, being one of these colonists out there in space. And there's an interesting aspect to it where they're just like, and it's kind of an interesting thing they touch on, but it's just there to be like, don't these greedy corporations, because that's the focus of a lot of these movies, a lot of dystopian sci-fi. Is that people are basically not able to colonize in space. They cannot handle it. So the impetus for them to do all this shit with the xenomorphs actually has to do with them wanting to like engineer a being that can handle space colonization. Mm-hmm. Like go to these planets and mine, like a slave race, kind of like, Blade Runner 2049. When you find out that's like kind of what the replicants are made for, is to be slaves. To go off-world and work in mines and blah, blah, blah. They kind of have a similar perspective on this. They want to create this new species to do that. At least that's what this movie is kind of primarily dealing with. And it doesn't really go into that very much at all. It's just kind of said a few times by Ian Holm's character. He kind of, because it's so clunky that they just spell everything out. They just have he just has like villain monologues.
He has his own agenda.
Dude,
yeah.
It was like it was like a video game. It has the structure of a video game, like where you feel like you're going through levels and you have to go complete a task and run to this side of the ship and then go do this. And then Ian Holm appears on like a little TV screen to taunt you.
It was definitely reminding me of some aspects of that, like the game like quality, because it was Alien Isolation was one of the first games I got for my PS4, and it was harkening back to that a little bit. I was thinking about just like the analog quality of the set design and things, and bringing back those actors and whatnot. And here it's like they really double down. And you know what? Okay, so I know I was like dunking on a lot of the Ian Holm stuff. He looks fine, and he's pretty convincing in the video transmissions. They just didn't need him to be on screen.
Well,
with
they
that
did
CGI,
well, dude, they did like a face swap.
Yeah.
So they had an actor there.
Yes, yeah.
And they did a face swap. It looks like an Instagram filter, or not like a TikTok filter or something.
Sure. Yeah,
that's kind of what it reminded me of, because you could almost see the edges around where the real face is and where the Ian Holmes face was, and it didn't always match up. It was kind of weird sometimes. At least, or unless I was just seeing things and I was being like hypercritical or something like that. But I don't think so. But yeah, Fede Alvarez actually said in an interview that Alien Isolation was a big inspiration for him, wanting to go back to the analog nature of these movies, because in essence it's kind of a period piece, even though it's like a futuristic movie, but it's the 1977 version of what they thought the future was going to be. So it goes back to that aesthetic. And but I feel like maybe that's what's going on with this generation of filmmakers. Is it video game brain? Is like that how they conceive like stories, especially adventure stories? You know what I mean?
I have to assume so, and maybe not just like video game brain, but like just trendy YouTube video brain as well. Like we're getting that Backrooms movie coming very soon by A24.
Oh, yeah.
And that's another example of just like everybody's just so entranced with these like very, very vague, high concept sort of visuals and things like that, and they just have nostalgia. And they want to keep you in the shadows and not like tell you everything, keep it a mystery. But that's the trend right now. I mean, you even saw it with Skinamarink last year, too. Like that's definitely an example of a movie that not only did well because of like TikTok marketing, but people are flocking back to that analog look and style and feel. And
well, because everybody's kind of aesthetic obsessed, right? Even Fede Alvarez himself, like he's good at recreating things that he likes from other things.
Yeah.
And I feel like we get that a lot, but there's not a lot of there. There's nothing beneath that. It's like, yes, you have like a facsimile of the thing that you like, but there's nothing to it. It's very shallow and empty and hollow. And I would say that Alien Romulus definitely suffers from that. I was kind of struggling. I'm like, what is this about? Like, what are the themes here? Like, what are the themes? Like, the themes of the old movies, they all kind of have distinct themes, right? And one of the cool things about the Alien franchise in general, whether you like the movies or not, each movie kind of has its own vibe, has its own feel. Like, you know, the first one is like a haunted house movie. The second one's like a military movie, but it's got the theme of motherhood and maternal instincts and kind of, you know, it's kind of like girl boss. Yeah, that'll get you through. Like the third one is about acceptance of death and life and the consequences of your life and whether or not you want to continue on in this journey. The fourth one is about literally about resurrection, about meddling with science and playing God, etc.
Sure.
And then obviously we talked about Prometheus and Covenant, which are kind of about just the nature of creation and the responsibility of that. And this one, I'm not sure what the fuck it's about. It's like I said, I think I wrote in my little letterbox review that it's basically a gorgeous looking but lifeless fan film that exists to be a meta commentary on how cool Fede Alvarez thinks the Alien franchise is. Millennials need to be excised from writers' rooms. But that's kind of what it felt like. It's like Fede Alvarez clearly really is a big fan of Alien. Alien. Just like the Aliens, probably more than Alien. Mm-hmm. But he just likes the world. He's a fan of it, just kind of like we all are. But he doesn't seem like he had much of a story to tell. Like anything other than doing kind of a broad general pastiche of every Alien movie. Like there are aspects and nods to literally every Alien movie.
Sure.
I mean, like the end of the movie is the end of Alien Resurrection. Mm-hmm. And also the end of Alien. at the same
Yeah.
time.
It's like you kind of mentioned in your early reviews that like it's missing those themes of just agency and survival, motherhood even, and things like that because they fill it with like they give it all these like different little plot points. Like there's a character that's pregnant, but that doesn't go anywhere really. It just like turns into more fodder for the characters.
Well, it doesn't play into the movie at all. Like other than
Yeah.
being a plot mechanic, when it shouldn't have that been like a big thing.
Right?
Like
Yeah, or something.
we got a fucking pregnant lady here, dude.
We gotta save the
We
baby
gotta,
or something.
We gotta
yeah.
save. We gotta save the baby. We should care about
Yeah.
her. Like, and apparently, I didn't know this, but I was watching somebody talk about it earlier today. And did you know that the main character and then the guy that lives the longest, other than Andy, are supposed to be dating?
No, I just thought they knew each other and that was it. Like they were.
Well, because that was one of my critiques. I'm like, these are all like young 20-somethings, and there's like nobody has like a crush on somebody or something.
Yeah.
And it's just like you have to give these people like an internal life, like something to do other than just the goal of the plot.
Yeah.
Like they're kind of lifeless caricatures that are there that are just very surface level cardboard cutouts, and they're there to be dispatched essentially.
Yeah. That's the first 30 minutes of Alien, essentially. I mean, with some plot elements already thrown in, but like you just see these characters just hang out and do stuff and work and
Yes, and be coworkers and joke with each other and have lunch, and they have lunch and they make crude jokes, and one of them rolls their eyes at one of them, and
yeah. And then when you
It
meet
also-
the military, oh, sorry, go ahead. Yeah,
no,
when
and,
you-
it also establishes the geography of the ship, the Nostromo.
Yeah,
They
right.
literally do that, and if you listen to the audio commentary, Ridley Scott specifically talks about that, how important it was
Yeah.
for people to know the layout of the ship.
Yeah.
Anyways, sorry.
Yeah, no, like to that point, like yeah, there needed to be a scene if you're gonna bring back like the acid blood and address that again. Like, there's no scene where you see the layers of the ship of how much that acid can like spread to each
Exactly.
layer. The way that the original Alien addressed and cared about.
Well, because in this movie they use it as just a plot mechanic so that it does whatever it needs to do for the plot.
Yeah.
Like, because suddenly the acid is just like goes fucking straight through stuff, right? It just burns it straight through. But if you were to go watch the original one, it's not quite like that. It's like a little,
Sure.
it's a little more realistic, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But now we've gone so far down the line, these fucking xenomorphs pop out in 5 minutes. They're fully grown xenomorphs, which is incredible.
That's the other thing. Like, it's so fast how they like grow up and start like breeding and spreading like wildfire. Like it used to take time. Even aliens kind of understood that a little bit,
Yes. Well, that's part of the horror, is the process of being used as a fucking vessel for one of these xenomorphs. Like, that's a horrific experience. And we spend a lot of time in the old movies kind of dealing with the horrors of that.
Yeah.
Especially in the first two, right?
Right.
Like, it's kind of a big part of the movie. And the aliens is able to up the stakes because they introduce a little girl, so we get to do it all again with the danger and the threat of that happening to a little girl, which just makes it feel fresh again.
Yeah.
This one, it's just like checking off a box. Like, well, this is an alien movie, and this happens, and this is an alien movie that takes place at this time period, so we need to have this in there and this in there. Not motivated by anything. Like, there's no internal logic to why anything is there.
Yeah.
Like, they have the room with all of the hanging bodies, like that hallway they go into towards the end of the movie, right before they get into the elevator shaft.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's no queen on the ship. The queen is the one that puts them up there so it can lay the eggs in front of it. That's why that happens.
Yeah.
But in this movie, it's just there.
It's just there. It's
just there
to make you remember. Oh yeah, that thing happened in that movie at one point or another. Remember this callback? Remember that line of dialogue?
Dude.
Now this character's saying it. Yeah.
They had Andy say, "Get away from her, you bitch," for no reason. It comes out of fucking nowhere.
And it's not natural either.
This character, no, exactly. This character would never say that.
Yeah.
Especially not like turn around and smile. like as if he's acknowledging that he just said the cool line from Aliens.
Yeah.
And also, like, there's a reason why she said that. It's not just some random thing. You know, Ripley is like this girl's adopted mother. The alien queen is there. These are her children that Ripley is fucking mowing down with a flamethrower. That's why it's like a personal thing between two moms. It's like two Karens fighting at the park, you know?
Right.
Like, did you fucking yell at my daughter, bitch? Like, that's kind of what that scene is. And then here it was just like, okay, sure. After kind of just like, you know, and that was another thing about the set pieces, especially towards the end of the movie, where they just felt like so like video gamey, lifeless, like almost like kind of uninspired. Like the whole sequence where they have like the zero gravity sequence and they have all the acid blood floating and they have to like, you know, maneuver through it. Like on paper, I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting, but it's also just like, they don't really do that in alien movies. You know, it's not really what these movies are like. They're not big action roller coaster rides. Even the ones that are not like that.
Yeah.
You know?
That's where the realism like really goes out the window too. Like, how can you even avoid things like projectiles like that anyway? It's just it started getting too absurd at a certain point.
Hey, dude. Well, she's a tiny girl, so she could really kind of maneuver through there.
Yeah, I guess so.
While she's wearing her vintage Ripley-styled Reeboks.
Yeah, right.
It's like, come on, guys.
Yeah, it's just like, okay, every callback. It's just like, are we doing this again?
Dude, they do. They were lifted entire. I mean, and I understand because they're just leaning into the fan service so much. I mean, obviously they did this stuff intentionally, thinking that most people will think it's really cool if they just see shots that are exactly like the old movies. And I think, you know, from what the general consensus is out there, this seems like people are kind of just liking the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, are things this bad? Things are just so bleak out there that this is the one that people are like finally desperate for something to not be awful. Because I could say this, I don't despise this movie. It's like not, it's so insubstantial and it's going to wash over you and then you're probably going to forget about it. Like it's not very memorable of an experience, honestly. I mean, maybe because of some of the cringe stuff, you might remember some of that, but I don't know.
Sure, and that's the major. I mean, I'm like you. I don't like utterly despise it or anything like that, but it does have that horror community factor here, where it's just like we're just gonna overpraise everything now, even if the quality of the film is not up to par or doing anything unique, different, or original. I mean, because you're seeing, like 82%, 80% audience and reviews and critic scores left and right, or Letterboxd is just like screaming the praises for this film, and I'm just like, what? Do you guys actually like this movie, or you like the idea of it? You know, that's where I'm starting to. I think
you nailed it. I think they like the idea of it.
Okay.
They like the idea of an alien movie for them.
Yeah.
Because it has the same problems that most modern movies that these same people praise. Like it has similar problems to something like Longlegs and Maxine and where they're just really undercooked and really kind of like cliche ridden and so derivative that it has no personality of its own, and it just makes the movie feel anonymous and forgettable and pointless. Like it doesn't feel like it justifies its own existence, which may be a weird thing to say about a piece of art, but I think for something like Alien Romulus, because it's a big studio franchise things, I think it does have to justify its existence. Like, why do we have to just keep making alien movies just because? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, why do we have to keep making alien movies? Like, there's lots of movies that have been made that there's not endless amounts of sequels to that haven't been franchised into the ground.
Yeah. Well, and that's why it takes like even like a seasoned director like Ridley Scott. You know, whatever you feel about his later work with the franchise, you know, at least he is, like we were talking about earlier, going for something and trying to tell something different. You know, trying to like justify like these newer ideas, philosophy, religion, science, everything, you know.
because he took the mysterious aspects of his original movie, like the space jockey,
right,
the stuff with the androids, kind of exploring the nature of those things and creating those things, like to get to where the civilization was in his original film. Yeah. And he uses that as a backdrop basically to explore themes, I think, because he's an older man. Like, and he's facing death.
Yeah.
Like, death is not that far away from Ridley Scott anymore. And he knows that. And I think he was using those movies to explore those themes.
And I think that's why a lot of these newer filmmakers, they're so scared to want to explore any of those things, like, ever. Like, they just want to play the safe route, and they just want to appease...
Yeah, but I don't
say like a younger crowd, you know, they don't have any like fight in the game, really, you know.
I also think that they just might be shallow people. I think the generation of millennial filmmaker is like upper middle class kids that grew up just watching movies, and then kind of transitioned into like having an artist's life.
Yeah, yeah.
So there's not a lot of life experience and things that are, at least things that are relatable to people. They don't understand why these things are necessary for stories. And also just the postmodern moment. I think a lot of these people have gone through, you know, obviously school, etc., where I think a lot of that stuff is just seeded into their thinking. Like, oh no, everything has to be a deconstruction, and I can't just follow the roadmap. I have to do something else, which ends up fundamentally breaking their stories. Yeah, because they're not taking the time and the care with the characters. Characters it's a weird thing. Like they will claim that they really love their characters, but their movies are just really about the plot. Like their characters are almost like background decorations for a lot of these things, just so they can like get across like some facsimile of something that they like. Ty West is like this. I think we're far enough into his film career where that is becoming very clear. Sure. Fede Alvarez is like this. He's got he wants to return to these nasty splash gore, grindhousey type feeling movies, but he's trying to elevate them with studio budgets, right?
Sure.
But they just don't have like anything to say.
Yeah. Even, you know, and not to get like too political here, but like it feels like even with like casting wise, like they're just like doing these like quintessential like DEI sort of like casting hires, you know, whatnot. Yeah. Okay, and look, I don't even care because like for me it's more like I want like just a really good solid character. You have this like Asian woman who's got her head shaved and whatnot. Maybe she's non-binary. I don't know like what her character's all about. That's the whole thing. Is like there's nothing to her at all in this movie.
No, exactly. Like you don't even know anything about them.
Yeah.
Anything like, and it just like this is what, and we talk about this all the time, like how much I like business,
right,
because business informs character. If I can watch somebody doing something, I'm learning something about them without having to be told about them. Just the way they carry themselves or the kind of book that they're reading or something. Instead, what happens is you go into a room and we meet all of the main characters and they just have a conversation where everybody just waits for their turn to talk.
Yeah.
And you're like,
yeah, they're almost like on the verge of like raising their hand so that like, can I say something? Yeah.
Seriously. Like there's no life to it. It's just there for exposition. It's just there to set up. But like, and that's the real skill, I think, of a good filmmaker, a good storyteller, is somebody that knows how to marry those two things. Mm-hmm. How do I marry like exposition, plot stuff with character? And I think the problem with something like Alien Romulus in a lot of movies is that they don't start with character first. They start with this plot idea first, because character should inform everything that happens after. Yeah. But that we don't see that very often, and that's definitely not in Alien Romulus. It's just not.
No, they needed a Harry Dean Stanton smoking.
They did. No, they seriously they did. Yeah. They need shit like that. They needed like a gruff old man that to be part of the crew.
Yeah.
Like why not? Just to add some dynamics, some drama, because these are all young kids. He could fucking be annoyed with them. He could fucking hate them, or maybe he has his own motives, etc. I mean, even the thing with Andy, the android, right? So part of the way through the movie, Andy basically becomes an evil android.
Yes.
But they didn't even have like the gumption to stick with that. Like everybody has to be happy, feel good, best friends by the end of it again. Like, so there wasn't even any like stakes or real betrayal. Like, even the fact that they're going to leave him behind, he can't go to whatever this planet is that they're going that's outside of the Weyland-Yutani system that they're going to go to be free. He can't even go there. And that's never really even brought up as a thing for his character to be conflicted about.
Oh, how much better would the script have been if Andy is like the twist turnaround main antagonist? At least take that risk, you know.
Or if they want him to be the bad, or if they want him to have redemption, he needed to redeem himself and not have the main girl do it.
Yeah.
Like, because they have this thing where he constantly needs to be rebooted, which happens like 5 times in the movie.
Yeah.
And it's like all the time. He needs to be rebooted. But he should have figured out how to do that himself at the end and took out the disc himself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because there should have been that dilemma with the character. Like, this is what I know. I care about this person, etc. But I also have this other thing, and also they're kind of going to betray me. But there's never any conflict like that, you know? There's none of that. There's none of that there. Like, they put the setup for it there, and then don't do anything with it. It's just like with the pregnant woman. The setup's there to do something with that, and then they use it as a plot thing for the end of the movie. But in between all that space, this doesn't matter.
It's disposable. Yeah.
It's not part of like their tension or their what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
Was there any sequences that you actually did like or anything like that in the movie?
I thought the stuff with the face huggers in the middle portion was okay. The part where they have to be like extra quiet, I suppose, and not get their attention as they're sneaking by them.
Yeah.
I hadn't really seen that done before, and I thought the face huggers themselves, like, there was a little CGI, but generally in most places it was practical. I thought they looked great. They're about like as animated as they were in Aliens, if not a little bit more. But
they're a little bit more for sure. A little bit more.
Yeah. But I enjoyed that stuff.
I thought that scene in a vacuum was kind of cool. It's clever. Like, oh, we got to raise the temperature to be the same as our body temperature, and then 20 seconds into that scene, they start talking on their walkie-talkies and stuff, and you're like, I thought that whole sequence was gonna be like the whole middle of the movie.
Yeah,
I thought the middle of the movie was going to be them going from one side of the ship to the other.
Right.
But it's not at all what it is. It's like a very brief sequence.
And it's such a Fede Alvarez thing, too. It was reminding me of Don't Breathe, too, like when he turns out the lights and they can't see where he's going, but he's like, even though he's blind, he's doing like Stephen Lang is doing just fine, like scoping around and like trying to catch him, you know.
I acted like a shark in that movie.
Right. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no, you're fine. No, I like that stuff. The facehugger stuff I thought looked really good, but there's something about, like, it's like a sequelitis thing where they're like, well, let's just give you more. And there's like 50,000 facehuggers. It's like more scary when there's like 2 of them and you're just like locked in a room. Mm-hmm. Like, that's way scarier to me.
Yeah.
Because there's almost like this thing where it's like, well, if a guy's just fucking hitting facehuggers like this constantly, just hitting him with a baseball bat type or his little shocker thing.
Yeah.
It's just, it stops. It's exciting adventure movie stuff, but it's not like horror movie stuff. There's no dread. It's like a fun sequence. It's not like a terrifying sequence, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, again, and this is why, like, it pretends like it's trying to go back to basics, like those original Alien films. But then you go back to Aliens, and even that whole sequence when the rain is like spurting down and it's Ripley and Newt facing off against like 2 of those face huggers. Like, that scene is still so dramatic and so well done and so down to earth and realistic compared to anything in this movie, you know.
Oh, no, exactly. But that's what I mean. Like, there's real, like, there's personal stakes. It's very easy to put yourself in that situation. Like I said, just like in the beauty, the construction of that scene is so perfectly paced and cut together.
Yeah.
Because it starts with, you just think there's the first one and Ripley's there dealing with it, and then they realize there's another one, and they have to kind of simultaneously deal with both of these things at the same time as the scene kind of builds.
Yeah.
It has like a flow and a pace to it. It's like its own little mini movie. It's its own little mini sequence.
Sure.
And people don't know how to do that anymore.
Yeah.
They don't. They just don't.
Well, and it gets a lot, and that's the beauty of it too. It gets a lot of people. I'm not a parent myself, but like that parental instinct or that maternal
Oh, yeah.
instinct that brings out a lot in like people that are those actual figures in real life. When they see that and they want to protect that and they want to stop the villain, and you don't get any of that here. You just see a bunch of just like, just millennial kids, just like
I would say they're Gen Z. They're Gen Z kids that are just kind of reacting. They're just reacting to xenomorphs. And
I think they even drop
stuff.
a line like a couple times. Like they don't know what they're doing, and they openly admit that. I'm like, well, yeah.
Well, I could accept that, but if they were just given like if any of them were clever at all,
yeah.
like, are they all retarded? Like, are they all idiots?
Yeah.
Like, give me something. Like, and that's really the crux of it. I think for me was just like it is such a shallow experience.
Yeah.
That you really just kind of feel. I walked out of the theater just being like, ambivalent. Like I was just like, I don't even know. I just didn't give a shit. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
All right, but before we leave, though, we would be remiss if we don't talk about the ending sequence. And then I'm going to catch up with the chat, everybody. I've been watching and reading your chats, so I just haven't said them. And we'll respond to some of the stuff you guys said once we wrap up here. We got to talk about the ending sequence. So the ending sequence, if you guys don't know, I guess it might have been Ridley Scott's, like, wanted them to do this. They bring in the Prometheus black goo, which this scientific spaceship, they've basically figured out how to reverse engineer it, essentially.
Yeah.
And this goes into the whole plot line of them wanting to kind of make this new species to be like a slave class, or at least that seems to be the implication. So the pregnant girl has to inject herself with the black goo so that Andy, the evil robot, will save her, because he's become full-blown company man once he put Ian Holmes' disk inside of him. And that's his new prime directive. Like, he's got to save the goo. So the pregnant girl injects herself with this fucking mystery space goo. And, well, wouldn't you know it, guys? That baby inside of her gets turned into some sort of weird alien creature somehow. These movies also used to have, like, the most base level of, like, grounded scientific reality, especially when it came to physiology and shit like that. That's all gone. That's all gone now. We don't even care about that kind of shit anymore. We used to kind of understand how it worked because that's what made it scary. The idea of like having somebody plant an egg inside of you and fucking rip out of your chest or grow inside of you. Here it's like,
no, there's no breathing room. We got to keep up with the pace here. We got to keep moving.
Dude, she injects the goo within 10 minutes.
Yeah.
She's birthing an egg vagina that births a engineer human xenomorph hybrid that grows to be about 8 feet tall within 2 minutes of being born. It's being born. It's born in this little egg thing, and then a baby comes out of it, and then it scampers away. And then Kaylee Spaney's character is like looking through, because they're like down in the cargo area. I don't know if that stuff's supposed to be fuel or whatever it is. All the it's like what do you call it? It's like sand, ground up coal or something like that.
Yeah, some sedimentary kind of.
Yeah, and you see like the footsteps getting bigger and bigger. It's like so silly. It's dude, I started laughing out loud, and I didn't realize how hard I laughed because the guy that was like 3-4 seats away from me just like shot me with this dirty look. And I was just like, dude, what the fuck? Who cares? Shut up. Are you really, man? Like this is it for you, buddy? You really into this? But anyways, that's his right.
Oh, can I mention real quick too? Like in my mostly unpacked theater, this was in Dolby, and there was not a lot of people.
There was there's probably about 15 or 20 people in the theater. That was about it.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised. I groaned, I scoffed, I laughed, I made all the kinds of reactions. I probably pissed off some people. Don't really care. Yeah.
But yeah, so what did you think about the end, just in general? I mean, like, because it really goes off the rails. It's basically everything post the elevator shaft scene, like, completely goes off the rails. It's like from that sequence forward, the movie is just like in cartoon land.
Yeah. Well, that's what it started just getting too cartoonish by the end. I don't have a problem with the design of that final creature. I think that's what they were trying to like hide and build up to. But it's nothing like surprising or impressive. That was where I kind of just came out of it, where, you know, yeah, I mean, we're just okay. You want to be in a universe. This might be like a Ridley Scott note or something like that, but there's nothing fascinating or scary or cool about this at all. Like it's just yeah.
And
I don't know.
Just didn't. I mean, and it just didn't feel like it made much sense.
No.
I mean, I don't know. And also it is directly like, I'm not even shitting you guys. Like it's very close to the end of Alien Resurrection. Like it's a very similar sequence where it's like this thing that is kind of like knows that the girl's like his mother, and there's like a part with that, and then there's obviously Kaylee Spenny gets in a spacesuit slowly as she's looking at it and blows a hole to fucking throw it out into space.
Yeah. Like how many times are we gonna still do the shaft sequence where they get blown back out?
She said, I think she says, "Die, motherfucker." Is that her big line?
Something.
I think she just says, she's like, "Now you die, motherfucker." Like, because it got so silly at that point, I just completely had checked out. I was just like, this is just, I don't know. And it's like, and I don't mind silly things. I don't even mind campy stuff. It just didn't work. Like, just end of the day, just did not work. Even if I were to give them credit, be like, hey man, you really took a chance here. Try to do something weird. Mm-hmm. But it was like weird for the sake of being weird, which makes it feel just empty, just kind of pointless.
Yeah. I just do something like, I don't even at this point, like just bring Predator back. I do something fun and goofy and hokey at this point. I don't care.
They got it. If this movie does well, I bet you there'll be like an Alien v Predator that'll come back.
I'm sure.
It'll come back. I mean, that Prey movie, that's another movie that I don't like that everybody likes.
Oh, same.
Yeah. It was kind of, because it's like exactly like this. You're like, what is this for, like 15-year-old girls?
Yeah.
But anyways, I bet you they do. Although I have no idea how well this is doing. Like I said, my theater, I mean, I went to see a 9:30 IMAX showing. Mm-hmm. You know, IMAX is more expensive. It was a little later. So maybe that was the factor there. But I don't know. I don't know what people are out there. It seems like everybody's seeing it though. So I don't know.
I mean, yeah, the fans are rising up for it. Even new fans, I guess, people that have not seen many. Well,
I think a lot of new people that aren't really into Alien or only kind of know it in passing are enjoying this movie a lot.
Yeah,
because they're not going to pick up on the same things that annoy us so much. They're not even going to know that that's what that is.
Right.
I would actually like to talk to somebody who's like never seen an Alien movie and then watch this and see what they thought of it.
Yeah.
Like, would it work as like a tight little thriller, like a little action thriller? I don't know. I don't think it would, in my opinion. But
I think we would still have some of the issues that we've already expressed here with it if we just watched it on its own terms and there was no other Alien context beforehand. But that would be an interesting experiment just to pick someone's brain on.
For sure. Because it's a pretty briskly paced movie, but it doesn't do a good job with like escalation or when we were getting towards the end of the movie, I didn't realize we were like at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Because of the way that things were happening or unfolding, like generally there's just like a general natural sense of escalation. Like we're headed towards the end. We're heading towards some sort of culmination of everything that's happening. And it just like nobody acts like they are there's much urgency to anything. Mm-hmm. Like they just feel like they have all the time in the world to do whatever they're doing. And I just found that kind of odd. It's really, when I was like, oh wow, we're at the end of the movie. I like looked at my watch and I was like, oh shit. Yeah. We only got like 20 minutes left. Holy shit. Because it doesn't feel like it's building upon anything. It's not setting things up and paying them off other than alien stuff. Like,
yeah, and I think that's also, and that's a problem with a lot of horror movies this year and last year, is that there's just this instantaneous nature to them right now. A real severe lack of suspense. I mean, if you even like go back to Ridley Scott's Alien 2, the last 20 minutes, like it takes its time when you realize the
Yes.
xenomorph is still on the ship with Ripley. It's a good 10 minutes before she like fully like slips into the suit to like stop it.
Because it's building that tension. It's building the
Yes.
scene. It has layers to it, right?
Yeah,
Like it's
yeah.
it's a little mini movie in and of itself.
Yeah.
They don't do that anymore.
No.
It's crazy. Like that's filmmaking. Like that's
Yeah.
what's the art of filmmaking, is doing shit like that. Not just trying to rush through your cool shit so I can fit as much cool shit as I can.
And it's good horror. You stupid horror fans, come on.
Well, I guess we might talk about this later. It's just like it's the
Yeah.
Terrifier problem.
Yeah.
It's that crowd of people that like, oh, Terrifier is the coolest fucking movie ever. You're just like, really?
Yeah.
And I know it's got cool effects, cool practical effects, but it's not a good movie. Are we really gonna be pretending like it's a good? Even for what it is, it's not a good movie.
Yeah.
But anyways, let's catch up with the chat, and then
Sure.
we'll probably close things down for our Alien Romulus talk. Tremming says, I wouldn't mind another AVP if they just do the original comic storyline like they should have back in 2004. I don't. You know what? I've never read those old comics, but I think I have heard that before, though. And even they didn't even use the video game plotline. They did a completely separate thing, which is full of alien lore. Wayland Yutani, fucking Lance Henriksen's back. You find out that Bishop was modeled after one of the founders of Wayland Yutani. You're like, oh, okay.
Right.
Trembling Color says, too many facehuggers is the same reason the Xenos weren't as scary in Aliens as the single one in Alien. If there are a lot, they always feel like they need to have character kills. Have character kill some of them. Yes, 100%. But what Aliens did, though, was gave you a new one that was like a singular focus and was a problem. We never knew about the Queen aliens, and she's over there laying eggs and shit like that. That was the escalation of that, right?
And they do a good job in that movie as well, because there was only about like 5 or 6 of them suited up in that film, to make it seem like there were a lot of them. Like the scope was like handled really well in that movie.
Yeah, and they actually in Romulus they directly lift a shot from Aliens, which is the one where they're all crawling.
Yep.
There's that shot was in there. I was like Leonardo DiCaprio in that meme. I'm like, oh
yeah,
I know that. Trembling says there's a weird thing with the awful modern horror fans where they love horror but hate tension and suspense. They're all medicated for anxiety and shit. Actually, dude, that's a great observation.
Yes.
Because I think you're correct. Like, they just want the visceral stuff. They don't want any of the art. They don't want the things that make those things effective. They just want the cool shit because of their neurotic, anxiety-ridden brains. Trembling also says, sounds like Lily Cat even had better characters. Lily Cat is an anime that we watched like about a month ago that is a combination of Alien and The Thing. And it's like a 70-minute little anime. And yes, it does have better characters than the characters in Romulus. Signal Intrusion says, it sounds like a bad sign that Event Horizon has more characterization. It does. And that's one of the flaws of Event Horizon is there's not enough. Yeah. Like Event Horizon is so close to being there.
Yes.
And it needs 20 more minutes of character stuff and then go back to the original ending.
Yeah, exactly.
It would be really great. Trelmick says, this movie is what people were pissed the Ridley Scott movies weren't. People on average are nostalgia coomers. No lies detected, dude. Yeah, because that's exactly right. Alien Covenant is Ridley Scott's compromise. Because Ridley Scott wanted to do I want to do the David movie. Mm-hmm. And they're like, the studio's like, no, dude, this is a fucking Alien movie. We're not going to give you $1 billion to make the David movie. You need to put fucking xenomorphs in there, and they need to kill people and hunt people down. And he's like, all right, fine. So it's like this weird mishmash hodge. Because Prometheus is probably more coherent. Because it's a unique vision. It's a new kind of take on this material in this world. And then in Covenant, he's trying to make a sequel to Prometheus while also meeting studio demands to be you got to have killer xenomorphs in there, dude. Tremley also says modern people don't understand love, affection, or friendship in real life.
That's
so why should they in fiction?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, you're right, and I think that goes to what I was kind of saying about millennial filmmakers. I think a lot of them suffer from that. James Leopold Scott says they kind of allude to a previous relationship between Rain and actor guy. Yeah, they say that they were kind of together or not, and they just allude to it and then do nothing with it. I guess you could infer that that's why he has like kind of a loyalty to her. That's why he's looking out for her. But you know what? Even if he wasn't dating her and he was just like a good guy, he would have done the same thing. Like it's a detail that does not factor in really. Single Intrusion says Fetch Quest and analog horror brain. Yes, I think that's when I was talking about how it felt like a video game. Single Intrusion says, were there any nods to Alien Isolation? It seems everything else made it in. I don't know if there was direct nods to it. There might have been. I might have missed that. If there was, it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, some of the tech looked similar, but that's about it. I mean, I can't really speak. I can see how Fede Alvarez was definitely inspired by that to create this, but...
Oh, 100%. Yeah, for sure. Trembling says, remember when characters used to not be heroic from the beginning and the events of the movie bring out their heroism? Now the hero, especially female, has to be a shining beacon of virtue from the jump. Yeah, that's true. That character has no personal dilemma to overcome. She doesn't grow as a character. She's the same person she was at the beginning of the movie as she is at the end of the movie. She's not getting over something. Like we could go back and talk about Aliens. What is Ripley going through in Aliens? She woke up 70 years after she had left initially, and all of her family and friends are dead, including her daughter, and she's mourning the loss of her life. And she meets this orphan girl, Newt, and subsumes that, and that's part of her healing process, her catharsis. There's nothing like that in this movie at all.
And they could have made the attempt to build on something, her relationship with Andy, better. Like that would have been something, and they don't really go.
Well, they should have had like some dynamics to it, especially once Andy realizes that he's going to be left behind. Like that should have been such a huge thing, because that could have been the thing with him and the evil Ian Holmes, like kind of like, hey man, self-preservation, it's a thing. Yo, put my disc in you, put my disc in you, brother. I'll save you.
One brother to another.
Yeah. Trembling says, I'm surprised they didn't just make the main girl be Amanda Ripley from the Alien Isolation game. Nostalgia Bukaki, the audience. Honestly, I think that I guarantee you that there is an Alien Isolation, the movie script out there. I guarantee you that was definitely pitched at one time. And probably if that game had been more successful, it probably would have happened. But like I said, Alien's a kind of a niche property. It just doesn't do big numbers. But we'll see. We'll see. Maybe Alien Romulus will prove us all wrong. I mean, even Ridley Scott making Prometheus and Alien Covenant couldn't make $1 billion. Like he couldn't do it. James Leopold Scott says Ian Holm was so unnecessary. And he also said none of the androids stood out. None of the actors stood out for me except for the android. Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. I did think the main actress was, for what she was given to do, okay. She was okay. Although all the women looked like they were 15-year-old girls.
Yeah.
They all look very young.
Well, that's the thing we're seeing right now, because this is Kaylee Spaney. They're trying to prop her up as the next Anya Taylor-Joy up-and-coming actress right now. She was in
Civil War
and Priscilla and things like that. She needs a few more films under her belt to be this figure right now. So she's not bad, like you said, but there's nothing standout-ish about her, really.
No, she should have been the pregnant girl. And they should have had somebody that was maybe Anya Taylor-Joy should have been the main character. Sure, why not?
I would even say someone I know, going back to Prometheus, the Noomi Rapace character, she is much more of a standout and has some more agency compared to any character in this movie.
And I think Noomi Rapace is just more of an interesting presence.
Yeah.
It's just something more interesting, even just listening to her and watching her.
Of course,
she feels very specific. She doesn't feel kind of kind of generic. Most of the cast felt kind of anonymous and generic.
Mm-hmm.
They could have had anybody play these characters, and it doesn't matter. None of them made it their own. You know what I mean?
No.
Trembling asked, "How is the score?" I don't remember it at all, actually. I saw that you asked that earlier, and I was thinking in my head, I'm I can't remember a single sting or anything. I assume that they use some of the Alien music. But I can't remember for the life of me, dude.
Yeah, they don't even have like the score listed on Letterboxd. That's the. Oh
Well, there
no,
you
okay,
go.
no, they do the composer. Benjamin Wallfish did the score, but I couldn't tell you like.
Let's see. What else has he done?
Yeah.
He did Blade Runner 2049. He did
Okay.
it
Yeah.
as a composer, yeah. He did the Flash. He was the conductor for the Flash. Well, there you go. Previous work. Twisters.
Twisters. There you go.
Another one of my summer movie favorites.
One of my favorite soundtracks.
Yes, yeah. Oh, dude, you're in the Goo Goo Dolls? Oh, no, you mean the bad Twisters movie. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, no, he composed the score for The Flash, 13 Lives, Mortal Kombat. Oh, this is WB have him locked up. He did It Chapter 2. He did the most recent Hellboy.
Okay.
Oh, he also did Serenity.
That
you
is a
ever
movie.
watch-
I have seen Serenity when that came
That's
out.
a weird ass movie, dude.
That is like one of the weird, like, what the fuck kind of Hollywood ideas are they like just throwing out there? And that's one to talk about. I think. when
Actually,
it
yeah,
stays in the
we'll
future.
definitely cover that. It might even be fun to do a watch and talk with that one,
Right,
Because it's so absurd.
Yeah.
And with the twist, you're like, holy shit!
Yeah.
This is like the end of Saint Elsewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a wild one. That's a wild ass movie. Okay, and just cleaning things up here. Trebling also said, Alien is like Mad Max, where the internet and pop culture references have made people think they are bigger than they are. Yeah, 100%. And then James Leopold Scott says, only 6 other people in my screening today. Everyone seemed to be there because it was an Alien film, though. I agree. It's kind of niche. Yeah. Let me see. Oh, and then Trembling says, he's barely better than Silence than as a composer. Just barely. Just barely. I mean, maybe an open room sound might be better, but what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? He's out there. He's hustling. He's being asked to do these things. I wonder if you feel like you've made it, like you fulfilled something in your life. You're like, I got to the top of the mountain. I'm in the movie business, and then you end up getting like trapped doing the most generic, like lifeless, uninspired shit. And that ends up being your life. That's probably not very pleasant. So, I got your back, Bill. Or no, I'm sorry, Benjamin Wallfish.
Yeah.
I got your back. I hope things turn around for you.
Keep hustling, dude.
All right. Well, without further ado, you want to talk about Trap for a little bit?
Yeah, let's get in Trap.